Hey guys, this is Delphine with a Japanese lesson on the CultureQuirk channel. So we've looked at a couple of different particles so far. One ga, the possessive no, we've touched upon ni a bit. I'd like to get through all of them eventually, so let's move right along. This lesson was requested by VIP Cassie Showell, who wanted to know about the particle de. Now this is another slippery one as it can be used in a ton of different ways, but I'll try and cover as much as I can and go over the more general uses. So the biggest general use of the particle de is by means of something. It's used with action verbs and it helps give those actions some sort of context, maybe the manner or even location through which something happens. Now that probably doesn't mean too much on its own, so let's break this down. One example is location. So if you're performing an action at a particular place. So for example, レストランで食べました. I ate at a restaurant. 図書館で勉強します. I will study at the library. Now this is not to be confused with other ways of conveying location, which is saying that you're going somewhere or just that something exists in a particular place. Just saying that something exists somewhere, so I am at the restaurant or the party will be at the restaurant, that's not an action verb, so you don't use de. You would have to actually be doing something by means of a certain location. As for saying that you're going somewhere, that doesn't convey location so much as it does direction. You're not doing something at the location, you're just trying to get there. And so it's another exception to the rule and you don't use de. Those cases use different particles. I've mentioned ni in the video before, but I'll go over those in more detail in a future video. Another situation where you would have de is if you're actually using something. You could be using a physical object or even something intangible in order to accomplish a task. So you would use a pen to write. Pen de kakimasu. I write with a pen, or I write by means of a pen. Basu de ikimasu. I will go somewhere on a bus, or I will go by means of a bus. Eigo de hanashimasu. I will speak in English, or I will use English in order to speak. This was pretty straightforward. You're just describing the tools or methods that you use in order to accomplish something. The last case we'll go over today has to do with numbers. Now, counting things in Japanese is actually pretty complicated compared to English, and it would need a lesson all on its own. So you can just remember the definitions of these words for the purpose of the lesson, and then later on you can find out where the words originate. I'll probably make another video, but don't worry too much about that right now. So hitori means one person and futari means two people. And if you're using the particle de, it means you're performing some kind of action, right? So if you say hitori de, it means by oneself. So hitori de benkyou shimasu. I will study by myself. And you can do the same thing with two people. Futari de benkyou shimasu means that two people study together. It's getting harder to translate it to something that includes by means of in English, but that meaning is still kind of implied, right? By means of myself or by means of the two of us, we're performing the action of study. Another numbers example is using the word zenbu, which means everything or all objects. So if you're buying a few different objects at the store, at the end the cashier will say something like zenbu de 2000 yen desu. In total, all of these will cost you 2,000 yen. It's getting a little abstract here, and I hope this is still making sense, but are you starting to pick up on how there could be tons of different ways to use the particle de? Despite that though, I actually don't think this is the hardest particle by any means. It becomes very intuitive after a while, so just get an idea of the basics, and over time it'll make sense all on its own. I've gone over what I think are the most important uses of de in this video, but over time, as my lessons get more advanced, maybe I can come back to some of these particles and make a part 2 or something. Feel free to give me ideas or other examples if you're a more advanced learner in the comments, but if you're a beginner, you should be totally fine starting out with learning what I've talked about today. Hope that helps, and VIP Cassie Showell, thank you for your question. Leave any comments, questions about this lesson, or requests for future lessons in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, I'll see you soon, and happy learning!